All right, part two of graphing inequalities. Just a reminder that anytime you have a greater than or a less than sign, it is going to be dotted. And then the equal to, greater than equal to, less than equal to is going to be a solid line. Now, in the last video, I talked about using 0, 1 to know where to shade. And it'll make a little bit more sense because we're going to have to use it now. Okay, in the last few videos, it was just a line side to side or up and down, didn't matter. And then you had to figure out, does it shade above, below, right, left, doesn't matter. Now we're going to actually have to use y and x. So last video we either used y or x. We didn't use both of them. Now we're going to have to use both of them. Now granted, you're going to have to bear with me. I don't have any graph paper with me, so everything's not going to be drawn to scale. But the general idea still stands. So we're going to be graphing. One major component of the whole thing is you got to make sure it's in slope-intercept form. Now, if you don't know how to do that, go back to the video of putting inequalities in slope-intercept form. Learn how to do that, and that way you can move on with this lesson. Granted, this one's already in slope-intercept form, and we know slope-intercept form is y equals mx plus b. Okay, or in this case, it's going to be an inequality. Your slope is here, and then your b is going to be back here. But notice there's no b. When you know there's no b, b is your most important when you go to graph. B is your y-intercept. If you don't know your y-intercept, it becomes a little bit more difficult to just go ahead and start graphing by just looking at it. You actually do have to do a little bit more math to graph it. Now, since there is no extra number back here behind the 2x, 2 being the m, x right here, we don't have anything back here. That means it's going to be 0. So that tells you right there our y-intercept, so where does it cross the y-axis, so the vertical axis. Where does it cross the y-axis? At 0, so y-axis is at 0 right here, so that's your first dot, so you'll put a dot there. And then now you look back up here to your slope. We all know that slope, m, is rise over run. Okay, slope is always in fraction form, and every number is a fraction. We should know that. Even the 2, even if it's not written as a fraction, we know it's a fraction, and hopefully you know that it's going to be 2 over 1. Okay, so your slope here is going to be 2 over 1, and that's, if you don't understand that, hopefully you do now. If you don't have this, it's going to be a little bit more difficult to graph it without doing some more math. So you have 2 as your rise and run. A lot of people want to do the x on top, the y on bottom. That's not how it is. Rise is your y, x is your run. So your y over your x. And what that means is you're going to use your y-axis first, your x-axis second. That's all it means. So you're going to go 2 this way, 1, 2, and then so you got 2 this way, so 1, 2, and then you got 1. It's positive. The 2 is also positive. That's the reason you know you go up. So remember, it's positive this way. So positive 2, positive 1 is on to the right on the x. So rise 2, run 1. There's your second dot. Now remember, it is equal to. So going back up here, equal to means it's going to be solid. So I'm going to go ahead and connect my points. Remember, bear with me, I'm not an artist. So something like that. Remember, you click your 2 points. On your IXL, you don't click the line or don't make it dotted. If you make it dotted, it will count it wrong. Now you got to figure out where to shade. So going back up here to this question, or this I guess statement, is use 0, 1 to know where to shade. That means you're going to plug 0, 1 into this equation. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and get rid of the 0 now because it's technically not there. You're going to plug 0, 1 into this equation, and that'll tell you where to shade. All right. I know this can get confusing, especially being since we don't have class and you're having to do this via video. So you're going to plug a 0 in for the x. You're going to plug in 0, 1. You're going to plug in 0, 1 in here. So remember, the x is first, the y is second. So you're going to plug a 0 in there and a 1 in there. So you're going to do 2 times 0. So I'll go ahead and just write it out. 2 times small. 2 times 0. That obviously gives you 0. Greater than or equal to, and then remember the 1 goes here for the y, so 1. Is 1 greater than or equal to 0? Now remember 0, 1 is right here, so I'm just going to put like a faded dot. It's not going to be part of your line. But if this statement is true, 1 is greater than or equal to 0, that is true. That tells you if that's right there, that's where you're going to shade. So you're going to shade this side. If this wasn't true, so like say it was flipped around, so this was 1 is less than or equal to 0, so it'd be there, that tells you it's not true. It means you're going to shade on the other side. Okay? Now, it's a confusing concept. I got a couple more questions for you to hopefully make that a little bit more sense. Hang on, I'll lock my wife out. All right, back to question number 4. So we have, luckily for us, like the previous one, this one's already written in slope-intercept form. So remember slope-intercept form, y equals mx plus b. I kind of spaced it out, so it's kind of the same. Here's your b. Remember your b. B is your y-intercept. So that's the reason it's extended down here. So we're going to go down to -7. So -7 is your b. So that means your slope, or your y-intercept, is going to be -7. So you're going to go down here -7 and put your first dot. Okay. Now remember your -2 is your slope. So -2 in slope form, rise over run form, is -2 over 1. Okay. Remember, rise over run is your y over your x. So y-axis over x-axis, kind of give you a little help there. So -2 over 1. So you're going to take your -2. So you're going to go down to, rise doesn't necessarily mean up. It just means it's on the y-axis. Okay? And it's just kind of catchy. So rise over run, you're going to go down to, so down to -9. And since the 1 is positive, you're going to go down 2 and right 1. So down 2, so down 2 is negative. 1 is positive, so you're going to go to the right 1. And then you're going to go back up here to your question. Look at your question. Is that going to be dotted or solid? So back up here, the equal to's are solid, so therefore the greater than or just less than signs are dotted. So I'm going to have to make this one dotted. And remember on your IXL, granted, it's not very good. Remember on your IXL, click your 2 dots and then click the line to make it dotted. Now, back up to using 0, 1. Hopefully this will make a little bit more sense now. So you're going to plug in a 0 here and a 1 here. So 1 there, less than -2 times 0 minus 7. So is 1, and then -2 times 0 is also obviously 0. 0 minus 7, -7. Is 1 less than -7? Obviously it's not. So is this point right here, does it work for this question? No, it does not. So if it does not, 1 is not less than -7. Okay, 1 is greater than -7. So therefore I don't shade this side because it didn't work. If this point would have worked, then I would have shaded this side. So that tells you you shade this side of the line. All right, and then just kind of a brief thing. Discrete or continuous? See if you remember. All right, so back up here. Now, the last 2, we didn't have to worry about putting them in slope-intercept form. But like I said in the previous videos, talking about inequalities going into slope-intercept form, I recommend watching those if this one doesn't make any sense to you. Now, this is not y equals mx plus b. This is y plus mx equals b or something. You can't do that. So you got to get it as y equals mx plus b. So it means you got to take the mx and put it on the other side of the inequality. Okay, so you're going to do that by subtracting the 2x. So you're going to get y is less than or equal to -2x. So now it becomes negative, and then plus 3. I'm not going to go over everything because we should already know how to do that. Look at a previous video if you need to know. So looking here, we have a +3 is our y-intercept. So we're going to go up to +3 and put our first point. And then we have -2. -2 is your slope, like it wasn't the last problem. Probably need to find some more numbers. So negative 2 over 1 is your slope. Okay, so going up here, negative 2 means you're going to go down 2, so 1, 2, and then you're going to go over 1. Okay, now is your slope going to be dotted, or is it going to be solid? Hopefully you said solid. Okay, so we're going to make it a solid line. Kind of missed the video. So there's your solid line. And now you got to figure out, where do I shade? Do I shade the bottom side or do I shade the top side? Okay, so you're going to plug in 1 for the y and 0 for the x. Okay, so negative 2 times 0 is 0. Obviously, I'm going to get rid of this. So 0. So we have 1 is less than or equal to 3. Is that true? So here was 0, 1. Is 1 less than or equal to 0? Yes, it is. Okay, so that tells you that this point is true. That tells you you're going to shade this side right here.